Would you like to share with the whole class?
Right.
So my name is Kristy Monahan. I am a member of this fabulous group. And I presented this as a webinar last month, December, I can't remember. I essentially responded to a Facebook question in one of our accounting groups, and a bunch of people at the same time wanted to see how I was doing it. So rather than do it one by one, I created this webinar, and Shelly asked if I'd present it here. So the slides may be a little bit geared for a webinar, as in me sitting at my desk and not having an audience in front of me. So forgive me if that happens. But essentially what I'm doing is going through how you can use free or extremely cheap tools to automate a lot of your processes. For this particular presentation, I'm showing you how I automate my payroll onboarding process, but I think you'll see pretty quickly that you could use these two particular tools to do a lot of things in your practice. So first, a little bit about me. I own Dynamic Bookkeeping, which is owned and operated out of my house in a tiny little dysfunctional town called Black Diamond, Washington. We've been on the news lately for our city council that can't get along, fight with each other about holding the gavel. So I spend a lot of my time there. I really love to work with nonprofits, professional services, and my sort of niche has become automating workflow as much as possible. I've been accused in my life of being a lazy person. I prefer to say I'm extremely efficient. So if there's an easier, better, cost-effective way to do it, I'm going to find it, and I'm happy to share. So that's part of what I'm doing here. All right. So throughout this webinar, what I'm hoping is that you'll learn how to create a form for payroll onboarding, that you'll learn how to use some automation from the payroll form data that you're typically having your clients hand fill out, so that you can receive that quicker, more efficiently, and legibly, which is also key, and how you can use Adobe Sign to collect electronic signatures. So this is more of a high-level overview of how to do these. I'm not going to dig into the nitty-gritty about how to create the form or how to make a fillable form. I can assure you that it is a fairly simple process, and it's very intuitive with the programs that I'm using. So let's see. Okay, so my first question is, how many of you have ever used an electronic form like Google Forms or Smartsheet or in your practice? Have you ever been directed to a website that wants you to fill out an electronic form? Raise your hands. Okay, so we have some experience with this. Okay, so essentially any process starts with a good start. It's really important that you have a consistent way to structure your workflow. So a lot of times I was looking for past emails that I'd sent client that I had all the information on, and then was tailoring it, and I just started using Google Docs or canned responses to save a lot of this, so that I wouldn't have to go back through and hunt for these things. So I have two templates that I send. One I send to employers when I'm first onboarding them for the first time, and then the other one goes out to their employees after the employer is set up in the payroll. I should note that I'm using Intuit Online Payroll for accountants, but you could use this for any payroll system that you're using. One of the things I also like to point out is I do use Google Forms to create my forms, but you'll notice in these emails, I don't have the form in the email. They're not filling it out in the email. What I have is a link to my website. The form is embedded on my website, and there's a specific purpose for that. Every time someone clicks on anything on my website, my rankings go up at Google, SEO. Anytime I can send someone to fill out anything at my website, that's where I'm sending them. So if you get one takeaway today, it's you get free SEO when you send people to your website. So do that as often as you can. Okay, so what I want to do is show you how all of these pieces work together. So I'm just going to pretend that I am an employee, and I've gotten the email and I've been told I need to go to this link and fill out this form. So when someone comes to my website, this is what they see. And you'll see that this is exactly the Google form. And I can go ahead and start filling it out. So I'm going to just kind of fill it out as quickly as I can.
that link went directly to the form.
Yes,
They don't
on
have
my
to hunt.
website. They don't have to hunt around for it. I've given them the, the full URL. So they just click on it and they're there.
Sufficient.
A lot of times I get questions about some of the more sensitive information. And what I always tell you is, first of all, I've done a lot of research since I am using these online tools. My practice is solely in the cloud. I have one client left on desktop. And I can't wait till he makes a decision to go the other way. And really, it's the CPA that's kind of holding me back. But what I can say is that the Google Suite, which is Mail, Drive, Forms, Docs, all of it, they are SOC 1, 2, and 3 compliant, and they are HIPAA compliant. To get them to be HIPAA compliant, there's an extra form you have to fill out, and you have to contact Google to do that. But essentially what the SOC designation means is that the AICPA, which is the governing body, has looked at and audited the security. And there's 3 levels, and Google has passed all 3 of them. So as far as security is concerned, anything that they're filling out that is going and staying within the Google Suite is perfectly secure. Okay, and I have more information about that if you're looking for websites or data to back that up. I have that information. I'd be happy to share that with you. Okay, so I'm going through and I'm filling this out. Now you'll notice that these questions match exactly what is on the questions that you can print out from Intuit Online Payroll, the forms that they give you to fill out. So all I've done is taken the wording from each of these questions and just put them in the form. And I want to go ahead and receive the full amount in my account. No secondary account. Submit. Okay, that's all that took. I'm an employee and I've just onboarded myself. Wow, pretty awesome. Okay, so then what do I see? How do I get that information? They've gone on my website, but now where does it go? Well, I have this fun little thing set up, and it sends me an email when they onboard. It says, oh, I have a new employee for McDonald's. Oh, I have a PDF. And here's all the information they just filled out. Now I can download this PDF. I can save it in an employee file. I could send it to their employer. There's a lot of things I could do with this. But mostly what I do is just set them up in the payroll program. So there's still data entry that goes into physically setting them up. But the collecting of the information has now become 100% automated. I can read their social security number. I can read their date of birth. I can read their middle name. I know whether they're male or female, and I'm not guessing. So, so this is a process that I've been using for quite some time. From here, I also have their email address. So we all know when we're onboarding an employee, there's other forms that has to be filled out. There's an I-9, W-4, and if they want to do direct deposit, there's a direct deposit authorization form. So what do I do from there? Well, I send it through Adobe Sign, and we'll walk through that process in a minute. But back to the slideshow for now. Okay. So when we're creating a form, like I said, I'm just using my payroll documents. So whatever payroll system you're using, if you're using Gusto, if you're using something other than Intuit Online Payroll, the forms that you're normally having your clients handwrite can all be put in a form. And the way you make sure that you get compliance with answering all the questions is that you can make all the questions required. So what I've done is I've made them required, and if there's an instance where they don't maybe need to answer a question, I just tell them to write NA in that field, and then they've completed it, so they're not going to get an error message, and I'm getting all of the information I need. So I'm going to walk you through how to create a form. So since we're in our email, now you do have to have a Google account. It doesn't have to be the paid version to make a form, just so you know. I happen to have the paid version. I manage my whole firm through the G Suite. If you need HIPAA compliance for whatever reason, you do have to have the paid version the only thing that is not included. But the easiest way to find Google Forms is up here in the upper right-hand corner where you find your calendar, your Drive, Docs, and Sheets. If you select More, you'll see Forms, and you'll just click on Forms. And it's asking me which account I want to log into. It gives you some options for pre-made forms up at the top, but I always just start with a blank one. And there's several things that you can do. So we're going to just say this is onboarding. And then I'm just going to start typing a question. Let's say I need to know your company first. And this automatically changed to short answer. Now there's different types of questions you can ask: short answer, paragraph, multiple choice, checkbox, drop down. You can have them upload a file. Maybe you want them to send you a copy of their driver's license. So you can include that in your form. You can set up a scale on a scale of 1 to 10. How confident are you in your job? Date and time. So the nice thing about this is it's fairly intuitive, and by what you type here, it's going to try and select the correct type of question for you. You can add more here by clicking this. Say name, short answer, again, it changed it. And then maybe I want to do a drop down. So I'm going to say, are you, and I want to do a drop down, and I'm going to say single and it's complicated. Okay, so how do I make these questions required? Well, there's a little toggle button right here. So all I have to do is click that. I'm going to require all of my questions. I can also add some additional help text. If I click on this here, let's say, not my company, your company. Now that's going to show up and it's going to say, yeah, you don't, things to help people understand what they're supposed to type. There's also data validation. So if your company is supposed to be a string of numbers and you start typing letters, it will prevent you from doing that. It will tell you that there's an error. I never have to use this because my questions are pretty straightforward. You can change how it looks. You can change the color. You can even select a preloaded photo or a photo that you have and say, okay, I want it to look like this. And then it's not only going to change this up here, but it's going to make this background look right. Okay.
Kristy, that's what's going to appear when they click on your website.
Oh, sort of.
Okay.
So there are several ways to share this particular form. You don't have to go to a website. Putting it on a website requires a small amount of knowledge about coding or how to kind of operate on the back end. But that doesn't mean you can't use this form. You can absolutely do it. So when you click send, you can send it by email. So you could just put, to from, and then the message includes the link. You could just send it as a link and you can shorten the URL. Or this is where the code comes in. This is the code that you need for your website. So if you have a webmaster, someone who's managing the website for you, or you know how to put HTML on your website, there you go. And that's how I did it. You can also share it on social media. I don't know why you'd want, well, I mean, I suppose if you just had a questionnaire that you were sending out, 3 quick questions, and I want as many answers as possible, that would be a way to, a way to share it very quickly with a lot of people. The other thing that you want to do is make sure that you go into settings and you don't want to restrict it to your own users within your firm. It will require a login if you do this. So I don't want employees from other people's companies to have to log in with a Gmail address to fill this form out. I just want them to be able to fill it out. So that's why I don't want to restrict this. So there's a couple of things they have to do. You can say they can edit it after they submit. Maybe they say they were born in 2017 when they meant 1977. They just, they screw up the date a lot. They remember that, they can go back and they can edit their response before it submits. You can even turn it into a quiz. So this could be if you're, teaching a class and you want to check for knowledge, you could turn this into a quiz. Okay. So, and the nice thing is it's auto-saved. So now we've got our questions, we've got our form set up the way we want. We figured out whether we're going to send it or we're going to put it on our website. We've taken care of that. So, just double check this here. Okay. So the other part of this is we want to make sure that we have a way to collect all the responses. So there's a questions tab, there's a responses tab. As soon as someone fills this questionnaire out, their response is going to go here. So let's do that really quick. I'm going to use this little eyeball. It's going to pop open another tab, and this is what it looks like. This is what it's going to look like for them. This is the back end that I was using. This is what it looks like for them. So we'll say this is Kristy Monahan, and I'm married, and submit. And then this is what they'll see. Okay, thanks. You can change, you can edit this message to make it whatever you want. Now when I go into responses, I see that there's been one. And I can look at them one of two ways. I can look at them as a summary, if I'm just collecting a bunch of data, or individually. And it'll just pop up like this, and I can just go through each individual one. You can also turn this off. So if you get, maybe you're doing a webinar and you can only have 10 people in it. As soon as you get your 10, you can turn it off, and then if you forget to rescind the invite, they can't register. The thing that I like to do, though, is create a spreadsheet with this data. So there's a little link up here. I don't know if you can see it. It says create spreadsheet, and it's a link to Google Sheets, which is Google's Excel, essentially. And all of this gets saved in your Google Drive automatically. So you'll see that it's automatically put in all of the information, including the timestamp, company name, and the marital status. As folks start to fill this out, these lines will automatically populate. So you'll have everything you need for every client. You can still filter these. So if you want to just filter by company, maybe you have 10 different companies onboarding and you just want to pull the employees from company A, you can filter by company A. You can do whatever you want with this. The only thing you can't do is edit this row here, because this is pulling straight from your form, okay? Also, that being said, if you change the form in any way, then you have to go back and re-edit this to match the questions on your form. So that's pretty handy. Now we've got all of our data in one place. Fantastic. But what happens when, like in the case of my spreadsheet that's on my website, I have 50 different questions. Do I really want to scroll back and forth to find answers? No, I don't. I prefer to look at things in a document format. If I could get them all on one page, even better. So how do we do that? This is where the magic happens. So let me show you. So in Form Publisher, or in the forms, there is an add-on called Form Publisher. There are add-ons within all of the different Google apps, docs, slides, sheets, etc. Form Publisher can be found by clicking right up here in this puzzle piece. The first time you look for it, you'll have to go to settings. No, it's this one here. And you go to add-ons. That opens up this nice little puzzle piece, and it opens a little store called add-ons. These are, some of them are paid, most of them are free. And Form Publisher just happens to be the most user-friendly and popular of the Google Forms ones. So it is got sort of a spot right up front. So you would just add this, and then you would manage it from here. Now, I don't have this set up yet. So we're going to walk through actually setting it up.
Is that like a PDF?
I'll show you. So what you're essentially doing when you do this, and the wizard is really self-explanatory. It tells you exactly what it needs. Essentially, what it's going to do for you. Okay, I'm going to ask permission first if they can play with your stuff. Yes. And then it's going to open up a wizard. And what this wizard is doing is a couple of different things. So you already have a template file. Now, maybe you want to use this for your engagement agreements. And your engagement agreement has the same canned language every time, and just a few things change: price, company, what I'm doing for you. you could make a form like this. You could bring your engagement agreement in as a Google Doc, take out the parts that change, and put tags in. I'll show you what I mean. I don't have anything set up for this particular form because I'm creating it on the fly. So I don't already have a template. So I'm going to say, no, create one for me. And I want it in a doc. So it says, okay, it's creating a Google Doc, which is just like Word. And it says, okay, we found 3 markers. Those 3 markers are the exact words that are in the question. So if I go and I look at this template now, I'm going to see that there are 3 company, and then within 2 carets on each side, company, name, are you. I can change these. I can say marital status. This has to be the same as whatever is on the form. It's what it's going to do is it's going to take the output from what they put in the form and put it in between these carets. Okay? So, okay, we've done that part. Great. That's fantastic. Next. Now it's going to ask me, do you want to save these somewhere in your drive? I highly recommend setting up a drive beforehand so that you can find a lot of this stuff. I don't have a spot right now, so I'm just going to say, no, create a spot for me. It's going to create a folder, and it's going to start any output that comes from this particular add-on is going to be shot into that folder. How do you want to name it? Well, let's see. This, you can also use the names that are on the forms. So I want this to be the company, which means that when it comes to me in the email as an attachment, it's going to be quick source, and then I will just go ahead and type new employee. So when I get an email, I see quick source new employee, McDonald's new employee, dynamic bookkeeping new employee. Okay? You can also save it as increments. So if you don't want to have a special name, I'm going to go ahead and click next, and then it's going to say, who do you want to share this with? So obviously I'm going to share this with myself, and I want to make sure I can edit it. But I can also get notified via email, and I can add other people. So I'm going to also go ahead and add this person, and I'm going to make sure that they get sent a PDF. And I want to keep a copy of that PDF in the drive, and I'll show you why. Now, as soon as this form gets filled out, they hit submit. This document is being populated, and it's getting emailed to me, both as a Google Doc, so I can edit things if I need to, and as a PDF. Now it's done, and it's going to want me to test it. So it'll say, okay, let's give this a shot. Let's try it. So it's going to pop up and open the form again. John Doe's in a complicated relationship. And he's done filling that out. So now, where do I need to look? I need to look in my email. Let's see if it came through. Okay, there it is. Form publisher, company, new employee. And here is test company, John Doe, it's complicated. That's how that came to me. I did nothing other than send them an email to tell them where to go on my website to fill this out. And within minutes, I had all of this data.
Kristy, you could have it sent to somebody else too, right?
Yes, I have a nonprofit preschool, and they use a Google form to do their registration every year. It's important for me to have a copy of the registration so I can make sure to set up their invoice. But it's also important for the registrar to have a copy of the registration and for the chair to have a copy. And so this I've been able to set up so that it goes to the registrar, it goes to me, and it goes to the chair. And at the bottom of their form, this document is a living, breathing document. So as long as those tags are put where you need them, you can brand it, you can format it, you can bold things, you can underline things. And we have check boxes along the bottom for the registrar. This person, I've called this person. I got their registration fee. I got the t-shirt size. And they can then print out that form that came to them in email and have a hard copy and something to keep notes on. So that's just one of the ways that this gets used. So if we go and we look in our Google Drive for this folder, let's see if we can find it. There it is, form publisher output. Now I have the same form, but I have it as a doc that I can edit. And I could go ahead and put employee info. And I can bold it. And I have the PDF, which I can't change, but I want to have this PDF because when it comes time to get some signatures, I want to be able to just download this right from my drive, my Dropbox, and send it in Adobe Acrobat. Okay. So from here, so now we're going to kind of talk about Adobe Acrobat or Adobe Sign. So this is something that some of us are familiar with and have maybe seen it in other forms. How many of you use electronic signatures already to capture information in your firm? Okay. How many of you have ever had gotten an email that said, click here to sign this important document so you can buy a house or get this loan? Okay. It's the same thing. There's a million different ones. There's DocuSign, there's HelloSign. I use Adobe Sign for a couple of reasons. One, it's super cheap. Two, it's just as secure through the emailing of back and forth of sensitive information as Google Drive is. It passes SOC 1 and 2. 2 and 3 are essentially the same. The only difference between 2 and 3 is the type of users, an internal user or an external user for marketing purposes. It passes the muster for security and internal use, and that's what we're using it for. So that's why I like Adobe Sign. I can't speak to the security on the others. I'm sure it's probably very comparable. I just happen to know for this particular product that it's very secure. And since I'm working in the cloud, it's really important that I keep it as secure as possible. So from here, one of the fields that we collect on that form that we got was their email address. And that's all I need in order to send them an I-9, a W-4, and their direct deposit authorization. I also like to use Adobe Sign because you can either use it right within your Adobe Reader program, your Adobe DC Cloud, or it has an online component. When these send out, you can actually set up reminders. So if someone doesn't fill it out right away, you can set it up so that in a week another email goes out and it reminds them to fill it out again. So I'm going to show you how that works. So we've got the email of this person. I'm going to send it to myself just to make it a little easier. So this is the actual dashboard online, and I'm logged in as myself. And I'm going to go ahead and send this to info.com. Now, if you need multiple signers, you can absolutely do that. The deal is, though, is that everyone who's in this list has to sign. So if you have 5 people responsible, but you only need 1 person to sign, figure out who's going to check their email first and pick that person, because otherwise it's going to try and go around and collect all 5 signatures. Does that make sense? So just know that that's how that works.
And in order.
And in order, right?
So like if the 4 people below could look at their email, but that first one hasn't yet, nobody else can sign it until that person does, and the next person that you put in line, and so on and so on.
Exactly. So that's great if you have something that needs the chair, the vice chair, the treasurer to sign. But if you don't, just pick the one who's going to respond the quickest, that has some control. So I want to add files. I'm going to go ahead and click add files. You can pick a PDF that you have saved right on your computer. You can also create templates. So templates are made right through here. Pick, one of them, like I have my ACH form that I make all my clients fill out because I'm not chasing anybody. I'm going to charge you on the first of the month, and if you don't pay your bill, then I'm not going to work for you. So I get this information up front, and I send the same form every time to every person. So when it comes to to a lot of the federal forms, though, Adobe has these templates already all created for you. I didn't have to do anything with these, which is fantastic. So I'm going to pick the W-4 for 2017, the I-9 for 2017, and then here's my direct deposit authorization. You're going to recognize this if you use Intuit Online Payroll. It's the same one that they print out. I just branded it and filled out it, made it fillable. I'm going to go ahead and attach. And then I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, this is the message. So I'm going to say Onboarding Forms. And it'll say, please review and complete onboarding forms. And then I'm going to click send. Okay, so all these forms, these blank forms have been sent to them. So I could send another document, but I always go to my manage page because here's where I get to set up my reminders. There's out for signature. I have a few. I can share, I can protect it, and here's where I remind. I can say, okay, info, I'm going to send this to you every week until completed.
Yeah.
Now,
Every hour.
and now I'm not following up. It's following up for me, right? So how does this look when the employee gets it? Well, let's go in and take a look. So when info gets it, they're going to say, oh, please sign onboarding forms. And it'll say, please click here, just like you've all seen before. And I have to log myself out because I'm not supposed to be logged in as the user. Normally, they would go straight to this page. Get back in here. Okay. So this looks a lot like you've probably seen when you filled out your own forms. All this is filled out. The things that are required are marked with a red star. So I'm going to say, Kristy Monahan, why would I ever tell you my social security number? And Mary. As soon as I choose one, the rest of the red stars disappear. Oh my gosh, I can actually read that I want to withhold one. Now I need to sign it. So the first time, I'm going to have to type in my name. I could draw it if I had like a surface or something I wanted to actually put my real signature on. If I had a photo of my signature, I could upload that. I'm just going to type, click apply. You can't see this, but underneath it has my name printed and the date that it was signed, as well as the date here. Here's page 2 of the W-4. I'm going to skip that. You may need to mute that. It's time for me to go get my kids off the bus. Uncle's with them. Okay, now I-9. This one's always sort of like, I don't personally need the I-9 to set them up in payroll, but the employer needs it. And half the time when you're setting up an employer, they have no idea what they need. So I always include this one because at the end of the day, when I get these back filled out, I'm going to actually go ahead and send them back to the employer for their records. Plus, you will see, you can't fill out the second part of this form, which is the part where they have to sit down with the driver's license, all the other good stuff, and actually verify that they're eligible to work. I'm not going to verify eligibility. I don't want that liability, but I can at least get this part done for them. So this much is done. I'm a citizen, click. And then the second time I go to sign, my name automatically pops up there. So I don't have to type it in again. Now, page 2, the citizen, you'll see that there are no spots here because this is what the employer needs to print out and fill out. And here's the nice little handy list that comes. So it doesn't come with the 9-page instructions and the document, it's just the document itself and then the acceptable ID. And then here's the authorization for direct deposit. Oh yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and have direct deposit. Oh my gosh, I can actually read this account number. Oops. And I'm gonna just have the entire paycheck. I don't need the second one. Here's my signature again and the date. Now I'm done and it's saying click here to sign. Cool, I'm done. Now I'm totally onboarded. I can download a copy for myself here if I want. I can sign up for a free trial of Adobe Sign if I want. And if I check my email, I have
an empty inbox.
Yeah, I do.
Oh my gosh.
Really? You have an empty inbox?
I subscribe to Inbox Zero and I follow it religiously. I have major anxiety, and if I have too many emails in my inbox, I just want to shut down and cry.
Oh.
So I have to stay on top of it. It's my own little quirk. But as the employee, I have access to this. And as Kristy Monahan, the owner of Dynamic Bookkeeping, I now have an email that says these forms have been signed, and here they are. And oh my God, I can read them. And oh my God, they're electronically signed, and that holds up for the IRS. And then I can go ahead and forward this to my client and say, here are the onboarding forms. You're going to need to print out this page, and you're going to need to verify. Everything you need to verify, there's a list on the next page. I have my direct deposit information that I can store. And then I have this little, it's like a little certificate that essentially says, this was signed on this date by this person. It's all valid. And here's the email address to prove that it was signed by that person. Then I literally just save this in an electronic file. So that is how I have went ahead and automated my payroll onboarding process. The employer side of it is exactly the same, just with the employer information instead of the employee information. But the employee information is what you're generally going to end up dealing with. So that's why I went with this one. So that is honestly, that's it. That's the end.
It's very good.
That's pretty cool. Very organized.
Thank you. So let me give you another example of how I'm able to use this. And this actually it came as an idea from Teresa Olson. So I had the gals back at that table were helping me with this webinar, and were willing to sit and sort of help troubleshoot things while I was giving it live. And so they got to listen to me practice quite a bit, give me feedback. And Teresa and I got to talking after one of the practice sessions, and she goes, you know, it'd be really cool if we could do that with engagement agreements. Could we do that with engagement agreements? And she figured it out. And so what I essentially did was I took my engagement agreement and I pulled out everything that you would normally change, and left all the stuff about privacy and confidentiality, and this is how I can hire you and fire you, and you know, if you don't call me, then I'm gonna fire you. And just took out date, company name, client name, amount, and the section about what I'm gonna do for you. And I put those in a Google form instead. Instead of having it emailed to me, I just have it create that PDF, which you saw saved in the drive. So now I have a completed engagement agreement with specific information on it that I can then open in Adobe Acrobat and send via Adobe Sign to get signed and sent back. And I can attach underneath it my ACH and credit card information form, so that at the same time I'm getting my engagement agreement signed, I'm also getting my payment information.
Good.
So there's a lot of different ways you could utilize these tools. This is just one.
I made my employees watch her webinar at work, and we use it to collect travel data now to book travel.
So you do have this webinar?
It's on my website, yeah. And I think there's a link in the email that Shelly sent out. If you click on the link, it takes you right to that page on my website where I house my webinar, which means you have to go to my website and I get more SEO.
That's
see?
right.
So,
and you get higher up on the
right. So
on
if
the
someone says bookkeeping in Black Diamond,
you're on top
I'm on top.
because there's only one person in Black Diamond.
Because there's only one non-dysfunctional person in Black Diamond.
Yeah,
That is me.
that's the key.
All right. Any questions? Yeah.
I was wondering if you, like, if we had a client who maybe wanted to set up a sort of a complicated thing to use this, because it seems like a lot of applications, would we be able to send them to you and you would work with them on that?
One of the things I do is I actually help out our community with automation. So
Really?
yeah,
So
you
we
can
can
come to me
I can
and say, I want to set up an automated process for this, and I'll customize it for you. So it's something you can absolutely do yourself, but it's something that I really have a huge passion for, and I absolutely love being able to give back to this community that's given me so much and really got me to where I'm at. So, you know, anytime I can help,
It's amazing. That's
so.
thank you. Thank you, everybody.
And we still have time.
No,
so-
we don't.
Yeah.
It's margarita
Yeah,
time.
is there, does anybody have any questions?
She's very thorough.
Yeah, that
Oh,
was,
no,
that
it-
was so good.
My mind
That
is
was
like
great.
exploded. It's like,
Yes.
I don't even know what the question would be.
Okay, so housekeeping, for CPA credits, please do sign out. So maybe you're in and you're out time so that I can send you a certificate that you can then use to report your CPE time. CPE time, I can't talk anymore. What else? Slushies and margaritas, yeah, and hurricanes.
Yeah.
Drink slowly.
Drink
Drink
early.
slowly. We're gonna put on a little music. I wanna say thanks to Martha for our Mardi Gras theme, 'cause it's kind of fun. Thanks, Martha. Happens that like to have a good time.
Stay for it, get them together.
And I'll see you guys at a webinar for our next training.
Thank you. Okay, I'll come back to my chair. She went.
What did she win? I wasn't here.
She went on the account.
Anybody want like plastic eggs? Feel free to take them if you have kids you want to do like an Easter egg thing
Does
with.
anybody have kids that wants to save these little eggies? Because mine's gonna get thrown away.
I'll take it.
All right, because I don't need, here, catch the egg. 'Cause I don't need,